The Xbox Series X just hit a huge milestone. What's up, y'all, and welcome to Xbox Ready, my YouTube channel that is all about Xbox. And I am I'm bringing him back, Mr. Jimmy Champagne, or as some people like to call him, Jimmy Complain, because he likes to come on here and complain about Xbox a lot and other stuff too. I will give him credit, like complain about PlayStation, complain about Switch, complain about other things not related to Xbox.
We got to keep it balanced.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot to complain about as of late because he just got back from an awesome trip and he just had a very successful launch for his new YouTube channel, Real Ones.
I'll keep this super short, but if you didn't know, I got into YouTube doing Halloween news, so very similar videos to Xbox Ready and PS Ready, all about the Halloween franchise. And if you're like, how did he do that? How did he cover one movie franchise for 5 years? I did it. I did 250 videos about Halloween, so I got that dog in me. My new channel, Real Ones, is a lot different than what you see here or on PS Ready. It's very heavily edited, very heavily scripted. The videos are like 20 to 30 minutes long, and they're about directors. So the first video, it's out now. It's about how John Carpenter, who's known as the master of horror these days, is really bitter about his legacy because throughout his career, he never got the recognition he deserved, and the vast majority of his movies made $0 in the movie theater. So it's linked in the description. It's youtube.com/@REEE 3E's L1s. It's Real Ones, like movies, real, movie reel. Get it? It's awesome. Please check it out. It's doing well. As Ray said, I am blown away by the support. So as my friend Jake Baldino says, get in on the ground floor because it's only up from here. Unless I die.
This video is brought to you by World of Warships Legends. World of Warships Legends is a massive free-to-play online game for anyone who's dreamt of going onto the high seas and absolutely dominating them with your tactical acumen. It's a unique blend of action and strategy that over 8 million people have jumped into since the game launched back in 2019, and they just keep adding more and more. You can take command of your own destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and aircraft carriers in exciting PvP battles, whether they're 9v9 or 3v3v3. Right now, World of Warships has an exciting Halloween seasonal event going on where you go up against Rasputina and her waves and waves and waves of ships. In this new game mode, you'll be able to take command of 3 new commanders, each with their own unique consumables, and honestly, their abilities are pretty sick. Like Bjorn Stormbringer and his ability to just neutralize all torpedoes that are coming at him in a certain radius, or Nadar's ability to just go ghost mode, go invisible, while also regaining health that entire time. If you're brave enough to take on this new game mode, you will be rewarded, of course, with Halloween crates, shadow coins, and you can even unlock legendary ships from this season and last season if you missed out. If you want to jump into World of Warships Legends yourself, check out this new game mode and start earning those Halloween rewards. If you use the link down in the description to sign up, you'll get a welcome pack that'll help jumpstart your World of Warships journey, including a couple of free ships and 7 days of premium account access. Thanks again to World of Warships for sponsoring this video. Now, I know I was just ragging on Jim for complaining about stuff, but there are a couple of stories that popped up this week for Xbox that I think will be pleasing to both of us.
These are all positive. Ray told me the stories. These are all, I have nothing but positive just to say.
Yeah, you hear it first. If Jimmy starts complaining, just shut the video off. And one of the biggest things that I've disagreed with over the past year is Xbox putting a lot of their games onto PlayStation. And, you know, at first it was like, whatever, because who cares if Sea of Thieves, a 6-year-old game, shows up on PlayStation? Who cares if something like Pentiment shows up or Hi-Fi Rush? But then they were like, Indiana Jones is coming to PlayStation 5. And I was like, I don't think this is a great move. I made a whole video about it. And people were like, Ray, you're overreacting. Who cares if they make a PlayStation 5 version? Blah, 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 blah. Now we might not have to worry about that anymore because according to Ecstasis, who we've talked about on the channel before, actually he's gotten me into trouble in the past. So he's kind of been up and down in terms of his leaks and his rumors and stuff.
What was the leak that got you in trouble?
Well, when he came out and was like, Black Myth Wukong can't come to Xbox because of a memory leak issue. And then like a day or two later, they were like, it's because of an exclusivity deal.
It does have a memory leak issue. Like the longer you play that game on PC or PS5, the more the performance degrades. So if Xbox has a more stringent certification process, that would make sense. That doesn't seem egregious to me at all. That game's not really interesting to me, so I don't really care.
So yeah, like he is a general. I would rank him as like generally reliable, not like a spot on every time with his news and his leaks. Somehow he got pictures of the digital Series X before anyone else, and he predicted accurately that they were going to show it off at the summer showcase, and he was right about that.
Yeah, you can't be right all the time, right? Like, you could be right at one point. Like at one point it could have been because of certification, but then later on Sony could have paid for a marketing deal, right? Like these things don't operate in fixed time. Stuff can happen so like sequentially, like both things could be true. I don't know this guy. I don't know why I'm riding or dying for him, but like, I don't know. I've seen a lot bigger leakers be wrong a lot more. Yeah.
So Extasis, the new rumor on the street, which may or may not be true, or like phlegm in my throat. He said that due to poor reception of Indiana Jones, the PS5 version, that Xbox is now pulling back. They're going to slow down on PS5 ports of Xbox games. I wonder what poor reception in this case means, because I just saw that people were out and previewing the game over in San Francisco. So I wonder if it's like, is the game bad? Is the game previewing poorly, like in this first wave?
I think he means poor reception, like poor reception to the announcement of it coming to PS5.
Yeah, so a lot of things that are coming to mind when I hear this news. Now, so old games, whatever. If they bring those over to PlayStation 5, who cares? Chances are, as an Xbox fan, you've probably played them. But newer games like Indiana Jones, no. And Extasis is taking it a step further and saying that there is a red line for franchises like Halo and Gears, and that red line terminology is something that we've heard pop up in the past with Project Latitude is what Jess Gordon identified it as, or whatever.
There's like two ways to look at this, I think. Like, so the first way I want to talk about is, Phil Spencer seems to not really be the guy who's trying to push all this stuff onto other platforms. It seems like Satya Nadella and the higher ups at Microsoft. So I could see a situation where this was planned in a little bit of a weird way, where they were like, okay, Indiana Jones, not really our IP. It's owned by Lucasfilm. So if we say this is coming to PS5 early, like we announce it early before the game's even out, we could kind of create a little bit of a coup situation where we engineer people to be upset about this a little bit. So when they get the backlash that they expected from Xbox fans, they can then go to Satya and say, like, look, man, like, this isn't even an Xbox first party game. Look, it's a first party developed game, but like, it's not our own IP. We don't own it. And like, imagine how it's going to be with Halo or Gears E-Day or Fable, right? Like, that's a good evidence to like say, hey, maybe we should pull back a little bit. And then also, I feel like the only reason that they sacrificed Indiana Jones like that is because as good as this game looks, this could be like a 10 out of 10 game. And I feel like it wouldn't be a slam dunk, millions of sale type of game, because the Indiana Jones IP is f***ed right now. Like 2 movies in a row were bad, like legitimate bad. Dial of Destiny was worse than Temple of the Crystal Skull. And I think people like Indiana Jones was never a huge Star Wars level IP. It was always much smaller. That's why you got so few Indiana Jones movies over the years and like no external media. I mean, like the games they put out over the years were like budget shovelware games and like adventure games. So like, if you're going to sacrifice one game to kind of like engineer backlash, I feel like Indiana Jones is a prime pick for that. And if that was the case, like if I'm not giving them too much credit over at Microsoft, and I mean the Xbox team, I feel like that was a smart move to be like, look, people are pissed. We're not going to do this going forward.
You might be giving them too much credit. Whether or not they did it on purpose, I feel like the end result could still be the same. But then it opens the door for more questions, more back and forth, which pisses me off just as much, if not more, than Xbox games showing up on the PlayStation platform. Because then if they come out and say, well, because of Indiana Jones, it was doing poorly on PlayStation 5. Therefore, Blade is going to be exclusive to Xbox. That's going to open them up to even more backlash, because then PlayStation fans are going to be like, well, Indiana Jones came to PlayStation 5. Why not Blade?
Yeah, they have a defense there to be like, who cares? You own a PlayStation, right? Like, you didn't buy an Xbox. If you want to play this game, you saw the quality we did with Indiana Jones, buy an Xbox and you get to play it. I was just talking about this with Silent Hill on my video I put up today, I want to say. It's like people are always throwing around this weird theory that putting your games on every console is what will make them sell. And it's like, no, if you put out a mediocre game, it doesn't matter how many consoles it's available on, right? Like Final Fantasy 16 did not sell incredibly well on PlayStation, and it sold like crap on PC because the audience isn't there for Final Fantasy 16. It's not going to magically appear because you put it on Xbox. And the same goes for Silent Hill, right? Like I'm sure Silent Hill would have done well on Xbox because it's a good game at the end of the day. You know, it's not based on how many platforms it's on. It's based on audience interest and how good the game is when it releases.
Speaking of sales, Jimmy, I have another story that you might be interested in because you are a A-tier Series S hater. The Xbox Series X, after 4 years, is finally outselling the Series S in the United States. It's not by much.
I wonder what it is. Is it like lack of interest causing a decline in overall sales of Xbox, which would reduce the popularity of the Series S? Or is the amount of games that run like dog water on the Series S finally catching up to the brand, and people reading that and seeing that on YouTube videos and being like, maybe it's worth paying a little bit more for that much better performance? Because there have been a lot of games this year that run better on the Series X than the PS5, and they're big games like Space Marine 2, Dragon's Dogma 2, and Alan Wake 2 from last year. Like some big games that people want to play look and run better on the Series X than the PS5. And I feel like the PS5 Pro conversation kind of brought the performance back into the limelight a little bit. So maybe people are just more interested in performance. Or maybe they wanted to get the Series X while it was still $500 and had a disk drive, you know, because the only one they're selling now, I guess, is the digital one, which is a little bit cheaper, and then the really expensive 2 terabyte one.
Well, so this is according to Circana, and they say that the Xbox Series X accounted for 58% of all total Xbox Series units sold in September. It's like 51% Series X sold over the past 4 years versus 49 for the Series S. And you gotta I think this is a couple of things, because obviously, the Series S was very popular back during the great console shortage of 2020 through 2022, I would say, roughly around that time, because, well, they didn't have the materials to ship Series X units, and it was hard to get them in stores, hard to get them on shelves. And also, we're seeing the Series X specifically fall in price. Like, we've seen it as cheap as $350, like back in the holiday season last year, and now there is a cheaper option for the digital Series X that's $450 right now. So like you can get some great deals on a Series X console, which kind of negates the whole argument for a Series S.
I think it's just a better console. So like if you're getting into the Xbox ecosystem, you may as well just spend that extra money, especially knowing that they're not doing a PS5 Pro, right? Like maybe there were people who were like, oh, I'll buy a Series S and then I'll wait for the Xbox Series X Pro. And now the messaging is they're not doing it. So they're like, okay, I can safely upgrade to the Series X and know that'll last me till the next Xbox. We're going through that on the Steam Deck a lot. Like people in my comments are always scared to buy a Steam Deck because they released the OLED a year after. And then Valve just came out and said, no, we're not doing yearly releases. It's unfair to our customers. It's going to be a little while because we want a generational leap in performance that doesn't sacrifice battery life. And it's like, okay, that opens the floodgates. That tells everyone that they're safe to buy a Steam Deck, and it'll last them for at least a couple of years or more.
But yeah, some good things for Xbox, some not so good things, depending on who you ask. By the time this video goes up, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is going to be live. People will be playing it. But people I see are very, very mad at Activision, especially because of this new, they have this new thing where you can pay them to scan your audio profile. Like they scan your skull, they scan your ear, and they can adjust the audio so it's perfect for you and deliver a better overall experience when you're wearing headphones. And people are pissed off. They're like, oh, it's pay to win because, you know, you'll be able to hear footsteps a little bit better, which will give you a competitive edge. And this is just one of those stories. I'm like, who gives a are we doing this?
Because we're doing this.
It's optional at the end of the day.
Whoa, Call of Duty overcharging for stupid features Welcome to like 2008.
Like, what is the story here? And as someone, we played the beta and the audio was great, especially on my headset. So like, what's the problem? You know, like you could pay, like I paid $15 for Dolby Atmos when I first got my wireless headset back in 2022. This is pretty much that. It's not required. It is an optional thing. What's the deal?
I don't know. I don't really care. Like, it's Call of Duty. Like, how many people are actually playing Call of Duty with the intention to go pro, right? Like, I think most people, like probably 99% of the people who play Call of Duty are just sitting down to get a few games in before they go to bed. You know, like, it's not that serious. It's like, it's a video game, you know? Like and if you are putting in the grind to go pro, I guess buy this audio thing, but the odds are heavily against you on going pro. So like maybe just enjoy your video game that you either got for $20 a month or paid $100 for.
Yes, and that brings up another thing. I saw this tweet from Tom Warren. He linked this GameIndustry.biz article saying that Black Ops 6 was going to be a make or break title for Game Pass. And he was like, if it's make or break, why isn't Xbox doing its due diligence and marketing that this game is going to be on Game Pass? And this is another thing I'm like, who cares? Like, people know it's on Game Pass.
That seems like disingenuous, right? Doesn't that seem like a little disingenuous for these writers to be writing these articles like that when they all wrote articles saying that Xbox has to be super careful about advertising big Activision games on Game Pass for a little while, because that was a huge point of contention with the lawsuits from the FTC and everything as to why they were trying to block the sale. They were like, oh, well, obviously that's a monopoly standard that we're getting to. If you can say, hey, everyone, play this game for free with Game Pass on Xbox, or you can pay $100 on PlayStation, right? Like that creates a monopoly situation, because that creates a situation where everyone's going to feel like it's free to play on Xbox. So they all wrote about that. And now they're like, why isn't Xbox marketing it? It's like, I don't know. You told me why 6 months ago.
They did all the marketing for Xbox, because that whole news cycle earlier this year of, is Call of Duty going to be on Game Pass day one? Is it not? That whole back and forth. And then once they confirmed, they were like, yes, all first-party games, including Call of Duty, will be added to Game Pass day one. And then they were like, okay, but it's only going to be on Game Pass Ultimate. That was a whole thing of like, it's only going to be on Game Pass Ultimate. People know it's going to be on Game Pass.
Yeah, and that's like reasonable as well, because this isn't like, no offense, Pentiment, right? Where it's like a $10 to $15 game that you're just throwing out there into the wind. Like that feels like something you could put on regular Game Pass, okay? Like, let's be real here. That's a nice filler title to get like 10 hours in if you're playing casually over the course of a couple weeks. But like, Call of Duty is the biggest moneymaker in the industry, besides like maybe Fortnite or Apex Legends. I don't even know what the shakeout is anymore. I feel like they're totally justified to put that on Game Pass Ultimate. I still think it's dumb if you are only going to play Call of Duty to subscribe to Ultimate, because you're going to pay for the game in like 4 months. But like, if you're someone who is heavily invested in Game Pass, you're going to know it's on Game Pass, because they're going to put a splash screen over your Xbox when it comes out on Friday. There's going to be a splash screen that says Call of Duty Black Ops 6 available now on Game Pass.
Okay, so they didn't market enough that Call of Duty was going to be on Game Pass. I disagree with that, but say that's true. Worst case scenario, more people buy it. And then they're like, oh, shoot, it's on Game Pass? Oh, well, I've already bought it. This whole thing is just crazy to me, especially that original GameIndustry.biz article, because it's like, oh, it's make or break, it's make or break, it's make or break. Everything is always make or break.
You could probably type that in and find 50 million articles like Forza Horizon 5, make or break moment. What is it? Redfall, make or break moment. What came out this year? Hellblade 2 is a make or break moment. Starfield, make or break moment.
They're still here and they're still chugging along. So this whole narrative of like, this is going to be make or break, make or break, make or break. What else is new? Avowed is going to come out, and that's going to be the same story. And speaking of games that people may or may not care about, I wanted to get your opinion on something, because Banjo-Kazooie seems to be all in the news cycle again, because Aaron Greenberg apparently was like, no one cares about Banjo-Kazooie. And then he pedaled it back and was like, no, I do care about Banjo-Kazooie. People like Jez Corden on Twitter are like, oh, I underestimated the power of Banjo-Kazooie now that I'm seeing Astrobot and all the success that it's having on PlayStation 5. Do you care about Banjo-Kazooie?
No, I never played it. I didn't have an N64. and then the one where you build a car sucked. So like, I don't know. I never played it, but that's the wrong lesson to learn from Astrobot entirely, because there are really good platformers like Crash Bandicoot 4 or 5, Crash 4, I think it was. That was an amazing game, and it did not sell well at all. Crash Team Racing Remake did not sell well at all. The only one that sold well was the remake of the Crash trilogy, because people were nostalgic for that. If you're going to do Banjo, you have to either do a remake or nothing, because it's probably not going to sell all that well. I would say the lesson to learn is that you should make a new action platformer instead of remaking stuff, because I'm getting sick of every franchise I like needing to have a good remake sell to encourage a new game, you know? Like, just make a good new game.
I'll throw in Psychonauts 2. That was a great platformer, reviewed well. I don't think it sold very well. So I don't, like, I don't have anything against Banjo-Kazooie. I liked playing the games back in the day, back on my N64. But in terms of my priority list of, like, top 10 things I want to see from Xbox's generation, Banjo-Kazooie, not very high on my list, and from my understanding, that is going to be a very controversial opinion.
I wonder, is it backlash from like games writers, or is it backlash from actual fans? Because I saw a lot of games writers talking about it, but like
if you're a big Rare fan and you weren't super big on Xbox acquiring them and their output since the acquisition, I could see why you could be upset.
You know what I think? I think Xbox should take a step back and make like 3 really good games, like AAA stuff, and then once they develop some franchises of their own that they didn't buy, and they have a like cache of IP to like rest on, like they did during the 360 generation with Halo and Gears and Forza to some extent, then we can start worrying about stuff like Banjo-Kazooie, right? Like the Astrobot's selling well. It's not like selling the same numbers as Spider-Man 2, right? It's doing shockingly well, because we've been told that action platformers don't sell. It proves that, like, yeah, there is a market for that, but like Xbox is not in the position to be chasing that market. They're in the position where they need to prove to their fans that they're worth caring about. And the way you do that is with Halo, Gears of War, and Forza. So thankfully, they seem to have figured it out with Halo, with their whole studio restructure. That seems positive to me. I liked what I was hearing. I think the little trailer they put out looks not great, but the messaging was good. Gears Ide looks fucking perfect. And then Fable looks great, and we know there's a new Forza coming. And Forza Motorsport apparently is worth playing now. So they're stepping in the right direction over there. I just think they need to focus entirely on that, get their ducks in a row, and then we can start worrying about Crash, Spyro, and Banjo-Kazooie, which, are never going to be more than a niche franchise, if we're being honest.
Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff we have to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Xbox Ready. I would appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it if you went on over to Real Ones and checked that out for Jimmy. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.